How I do that is I have to read an introductory statement that I read to every case. After that, I'll hand the case over to Ms. Madeira, your case manager. She'll swear you in, and then the commissioners will start the hearing. So please bear with me while I read this. Good morning and welcome to the Philadelphia Fair Housing Commission. My name is Allie DeMedeiros. I'm the attorney for the commissioners. Also present here today from the Fair Housing Commission staff is Ms. Brenda Madeira, the case manager. You'll also see Mr. Michael Fontaine, who runs our Zoom hearings for us. Before the hearing, I am required to go over a few things with you. First, you're being recorded. We will record all our hearings. By remaining on the line and participating in the hearing, you are consenting to be recorded. Our Zoom hearings have the same force and effect as if we were in person. The only difference is on Zoom, we do not have a court reporter. In the event either party wants to appeal, a final order of this commission, you can reach out to me or the case manager, and we'll provide you with a copy of the video recording. Please be mindful of what you're saying and doing because it is being recorded. Second, at 9 o'clock this morning, the commissioners and myself, the attorney, met in a private executive session to discuss the day's cases. We do that on every hearing day with every case. Third, the parties had the opportunity to submit documents. I have the submitted documents saved on my computer, and I can put them on the screen for us all to look at the same time. Please keep in mind, just because you submitted a document, it doesn't mean the commission's yet reviewed it. They generally only look at the very basic documents in a case prior to a hearing. If you would like a document reviewed by the commission, please reference it by a name, date, or description so that I can post it on the screen for everyone to look at the same time. Lastly, during the course of today's hearing, it might be necessary for the commissioners to speak privately to make decisions in this matter. If they need to do that, they will invite you to join separate rooms divided by party called breakout rooms. A prompt will come on your screen at the appropriate moment asking you if you would like to join a breakout room. We will direct you to click join when you see that prompt. Once in the breakout room, please remain in the room. We will never end a hearing when you are in a separate room. Please make sure you're back in this main room and that a commissioner or staff member dismisses you before you log off or hang up. Thank you again very much for listening. With that, I'm going to hand the case over to Ms. Madeira.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Fair Housing Commission. This is the case of Beverly Gunn and Stephanie Johnson versus Elizabeth Stubble Johnson. This is our first hearing. This is docket number 2024-12-16-19448. At this time, beginning with the tenant, I would ask you to please state your name. Ms. Gunn, you can go first. State your name and spell it clearly for the recording.
Hi, I'm Beverly Gunn, Beverly Gunn.
Ms. Johnson?
My name is Stephanie Johnson, STEPHANIE
Thank you. Ms. Stubble Johnson, would you please state your name and spell it clearly for the recording?
My name is Elizabeth Stubble Johnson, ELISABETH, Stubble STEUBLE, Johnson JOHNSON.
Thank you. A counsel for landlord, for tenant, please put your name on our record.
Good morning, Adam Weintraub Barth from Senior Law Center for tenant Miss Gunn. I'm also joined by Miss Johnson. We are not representing her, but we intend to call her as a witness. Just want to clarify for the record.
Right. Thank you. Counselor for landlord, would you please put your name on our record? You're muted, sir. Still muted.
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Samuel Rossitto, Rossitto, attorney for Elizabeth Stubble Johnson.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I would like to swear in both tenants and landlord. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
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 Thank you. So during the hearing, you will have the opportunity while testifying that if there is a document that you wish to be presented for all to see on screen, please make mention of said title on that document. If you don't have the title, if you're using a date, please use the complete date, which would be the month, the day, and the year of the document. We will also ask you not to use pronouns, please. Please make mention of the full name of the person you're referring to during your testimony. We will ask you not to interrupt, nor disrespect each other. We will definitely ask you not to interrupt nor disrespect the commissioners as they proceed over this matter. At the end of the hearing, you will receive an order. You have the right to appeal the final order at the Court of Common Pleas. If you choose to do so, you'll need a copy of this recording that will be transcribed for that purpose. This matter is not scheduled for a municipal court hearing at this time. Again, my name is Brenda Madeira, and the commissioners today presiding over this matter is Commissioner Butler, Commissioner Bronson, and Commissioner Byers. Thank you.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Fair Housing Commission. The process for today's hearing will be as follows. First, we will be hearing from the tenant. Tenant will present her case, and then the landlord, through her representative, can provide a rebuttal. I understand that both parties are represented. I would like to also state that this matter was filed on, the complaint date is December the 6th of 2024. The allegations in this hearing are 9-8042 retaliation, 9-8041 ending the lease with open L&I violations, although not specifically pleaded in the complaint. For the sake of putting things on the record, I'm going to ask a few questions of the tenant. Ms. Gunn,
Yes.
you hear me? Okay. Did you file this complaint with Fair Housing on December the 6th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay, and can you please state the property address that we're here to discuss?
Pardon?
Can you please state the address, the property address that we
Yeah.
are here to discuss?
101 Carpenter Lane, apartment 4W, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19119.
Okay, there's also also known as address, and that is 101-07 Carpenter Lane. What is the apartment number?
4W is in Winston.
And when did you first move into this property?
I moved into the apartment in December of 23.
And what was the monthly rent?
The total monthly rent is $1,524, I believe. And it was a little bit less, I think $44 less at the time, and it was increased the month after.
Okay, did you pay a security deposit?
I did not put a security deposit down. I moved into an apartment that was already, there was a tenant there.
Okay. With that, then I will allow your attorney to present your case. Again, the issues that were alleged in the Fair Housing complaint was one of retaliation. So please be brief and concise.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Baez. Very quickly to start with Ms. Gunn, I just want to confirm, I have a copy of the Fair Housing Commission complaint right here. I just want to make sure that you spoke correctly. The date on the complaint looks like it's December 16th, not December 6th, 2024. Is that your understanding?
The date that I first contacted Fair Housing?
Well, was that different than the date that's on the complaint?
It is.
Okay, so what date did you first contact Fair Housing?
I believe I first contacted Fair Housing on the 10th of December.
Okay.
And then again on the 12th.
Okay, thank you. So let's get into why did you contact the Fair Housing Commission?
I contacted them because at the time we were out of heat. We did not have heat in the apartment.
Okay, and when did you lose heat in the apartment?
November 31st.
Did you notify the landlord about this?
Yes.
And how did you notify them?
Through the leasing company, through an email.
Okay. I guess Ms. DiMedeiros or whoever is handling the documents, can you please put up the tenant's exhibit C? That's a February 29th email.
Yep. Yes.
So while we're waiting for them to put it up, I'm showing you Tenants Exhibit C. Do you remember sending this email, Ms. Gunn?
Yes,
And who did you send this email to directly, if you know who it went to?
it went to someone by the name of Val.
Do you know who Val was?
She is the property manager.
Okay. And what did you say in the email to Val?
Our heat is cold, rooms are cold. Something was happening with the heat last night. The radiator in the den was making very loud banging noise. My bathroom radiator is steaming forcefully. This morning, the room is cold. The den is very, very cold. Please send someone to check on the heating system.
Okay. And did they respond to this email?
They did not.
Okay. And so what happened? Well, let me just clarify. When did you send them that email?
That was November 29th.
Okay. So what happened after November 29th as far as any attempt from the landlord to address this issue?
There was no attempts to address the issue from the landlord.
Okay. When was it? Is it still a problem today?
There are problems with the radiator today.
Okay. Did they ever get the heat working at all after that point?
They did.
Okay. When did they finally get that resolved?
The heat was finally resolved on December 16th.
Okay. So in between that November 29th and December 16th, did you call anybody else about this issue or contact anybody else about this issue?
Besides the property management, I believe, if memory serves, that was around December. I reached out to Elizabeth about the heat.
And by Elizabeth, you mean the owner
Owner.
who's on this Zoom today?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you reach out to Elizabeth?
I sent her a text message.
Okay, do you remember what, just roughly around when that might have been? It's okay if you don't remember the exact date, but just even a rough idea is helpful.
I'm not sure, maybe December 13th.
Okay. Did you ever contact L&I or License and Inspection?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay, when did you contact L&I?
I contacted L&I on December 10th.
Okay, Ms. DiMedeiros, can you pull up tenants? I think this is G. It was the printout from L&I. So going back to you, Ms. Gunn, you said you contacted L&I on December 10th. What happened with L&I after that date?
L&I came out on December 12th to inspect the property and was met by a tenant that would not allow him access to the building. And then I followed up once I found that out by calling 311, who then gave me the district, and I called that district and spoke with the supervisor, Anthony Williams, who then gave me the email address to the inspector, whom then I reached out to on the 13th of December.
Okay, and did L&I to your knowledge, make any subsequent attempts to inspect the issue?
Yes, they returned on the 16th.
Okay. And I'll just note to the commission that, as you can see, the violations were added on December 12th. And the violations themselves looked like they were added on December 16th. So I'm just gonna go, we'll stick to that right now. So after this happened, did you have any subsequent communications with the property manager or with the owner who's on the Zoom today? Did you receive anything from them, any communications from them within the next couple of days?
Yes, on that same day, the 16th in the evening, I received an email with an eviction notice and a notice to vacate.
Okay, and Thanks so much, Ms. DiMedeiros. I appreciate it. So does this, Ms. Gunn, is this the notice that they're showing right now? Is this the email that you received?
Yes, it is.
And just for the record, there's no date on that, but the notice attached to it is dated December 16th. So is it fair to say that this email was sent to you on December 16th?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then just very briefly going back, was the heat the first issue that you had with this unit?
No, it is not.
Okay, what were the other issues that you had with the unit? Just very briefly.
There were some repairs that needed to be done in the apartment. I had requested that my shower hose be replaced because it was broken when I moved in. Then it was replaced with a plastic hose that smelled very bad. And there was a time that I think back in March of 2024, where a contractor was sent out and they somehow they blew a light out in the bathroom, the only one that is over the vanity. And it doesn't work, hasn't worked since then, and it has not been repaired. I've asked a number of times for them to repair that. We had a leak in the living room and there was damage to the ceiling where we asked for that to be repaired. And that was not done until a week ago. And let's see, there was some painting that needed to be done in the bathroom. When I moved in, there was wallpaper which was torn down by the authorization of the owner. And there was one coat put up. From my understanding, there was 2 coats of paint. Then I requested that our kitchen be painted because it's in bad condition and it could use some paint. It's been some time since it's been painted. And our dishwasher at some point around September, I believe. And these all started back in like February, March. These requests were being made at that time. And then the dishwasher stopped working. When I say it stopped working, it had a really horrible smell to it. After we washed the dishes were coming out with funk on it, as well as when the dishwasher is being operated, there's a fume coming from the operation of the dishwasher. Yeah.
So in the interest of time, I'm just gonna, unless there's an objection from the other side of the commission, I'm just going to ask basically that the commission take notice of the emails that my client sent, additionally complaining about these things. They're voluminous, they've been sent to the other side. Unless there's an objection, I just ask the commission to take notice of these things.
My only objection is that documents that were sent after 10 days, that's not what the rules are. They should be sent within 10 days prior to the hearing. So there is an objection to any documents that were submitted after the 10-day period.
Is the objection of the nature of that I should not refer to them at all, or that I ask the commission to take notice of them without going through them individually?
The objection is that they should not be submitted to be reviewed.
One of two things. We are not the court of common pleas, so the rules of evidence are not strictly followed here, if that's what you're referring to, attorney. We can either go through each email one by one, which will be very time consuming, or what exactly is, well, what are the dates that we are trying to enter into evidence?
What,
Specifically?
can I have the exhibit numbers or letters, Mr. Weintraub, to start?
Yeah, they're tenants A, B, C, D, and E, it looks like. I think those are all emails between the parties.
So without, okay.
They're particularly voluminous, and I also want to just note that they are not at the crux of this issue because most of them don't refer to violations that were issued by L&I. So I just think it's helpful for background, that's all.
Okay, again, I'm gonna remind everyone why we're here. The allegation is one of retaliation. Very
Sure.
simply, the tenant is alleging that because of her complaints to the landlord, her lease was not renewed.
Yes, I will briefly conclude then, just one, quick additional set of questions for my client, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Rosito. Ms. Gunn, did the landlord indicate to you in their notice why they were not renewing your lease?
Yes, they said that there was substantial repairs that needed to be done. And so they needed to, for us to not be there while they do that.
And just generally, based on your assessment of the apartment currently, what state would you describe the apartment in currently?
The apartment is it's in very good condition, but for the things that I've asked to have repaired.
Okay, I have, I guess, one final question. Are you aware of anybody else in the building receiving any notices to not renew their lease?
I am not, but I am aware that there are other people with more severe issues in their apartments.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to ask your client a few other additional questions. Regarding did your landlord ever provide you with a certificate of renter suitability?
Yes.
And do you recall when that was done?
It was given to us with the original lease, but not again until after this action was brought.
So it was given to you twice, is that what you're saying?
Yes, only because we didn't receive a lease. That was one of the other things actually that I was requesting. We signed the lease in March. And I asked repeatedly to have a copy of the lease, and it was sent out in
Sorry,
August,
March of what year?
March of 2024.
Okay, that's a more recent lease because you were in the property before this lease, correct?
That is correct. However, we didn't receive a lease to sign until sometime in February. And that was by a different property management company, McCarthy Realty. And once we signed that and submitted it to Elizabeth, then she acquired a new property manager, and they had their own lease that they wanted us to sign. However, we did not receive that lease. And at that time, we did not receive suitability from them either, because it was done through DocuSign, so we never received the lease, and was not sent out to us until August. And I also had to say that I
Okay,
had
I'm sorry, we're confusing topics here at this
So
time.
I have two leases. One was by broker McCarthy, who I believe is the original broker. I'm putting it on the screen.
Yes,
And it does appear to be signed by you. And it does appear to have a certificate of rental suitability attached with the dates of 1/31/22 through 5/1/22. So are you saying you received the CRS in 2024? When was this certificate of rental suitability received?
it was received with that lease. However, they had to sign another lease that we don't have currently because
I believe the second lease is done with Gardner Realty.
yes, but it's the same exact lease as you're
Yes.
looking at. They
Okay.
had given us a different lease that we don't have.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry, just for the sake of clarity, because
so-
you moved into this property when exactly? Let's go back to that initial question.
I think it was December 16th, but I'm not exactly sure of the move-in date. December
What you,
16th of
um,
2023.
December of 2023?
Yes,
Okay, and at that time, did you receive a certificate of renter suitability?
not until February when we received a lease to sign.
I need the year, February of 2024.
Yes,
Okay. Okay. Are you saying there are 3 leases? So it's the 2 I put on the screen and another lease?
there is another lease that.
So 3 total.
Yes,
Okay.
because when Gardner took over, they had their own lease that they had to sign. And we never received that. And when I requested a copy of that lease, they sent the first lease that you have from McCarthy, which has Elizabeth's name at the top. And there were certain things on that lease that was hand checked off, which was not checked off when we signed it. And then when I objected and said that this isn't our lease, I was expecting the lease that Gardner sent out to us to sign, but then we got a lease of the same meaning the same lease that McCarthy had sent out, only this time it had Gardner's information on it.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the lead safe certificate. Have you received the lead safe certificate from the landlord?
Yes.
And when was that?
Well, I believe it's attached to the original lease that McCarthy sent out, but then they sent us
I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you just provide me with a date when you've received the document? On the screen, we are being shown a certificate, lead safe certificate. The date of verification is September 4th of 2021.
Yes, I was not in the apartment at that time.
No, I understand that, but did you receive a copy of this certificate upon moving into that property?
Yes, sometime after.
And when was the last time that you paid rent to the landlord?
January
Of what year?
of 2025.
And what was the amount?
I believe at that time it was $562 because they had they took $200 off of our rent for the inconvenience of not having heat for 17 days.
And then what happened with the rent for February?
I withheld that. It's in an account. I withheld it for the reasons for the requests that I made that were not.
Okay, aside from the rent payment, okay, besides February not being paid to the landlord, do you understand if you have a balance with the landlord at this time?
Yes, $762.
I'm sorry, so the monthly rent is 1524, correct?
Yes.
So is the 1524 being paid, or is Miss Johnson hasn't paid her portion of the rent at all?
No, Miss Johnson has paid her portion.
Okay, so Miss Johnson, are you paid in full through February?
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So my understanding is we're missing half of February from Miss Gunn.
Correct.
It's not missing, it's in escrow. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Bias.
I don't have any other questions.
I do have a question. Ms. Johnson, when you moved in, did you receive a certificate of rental suitability?
actually, I took over from my dad, and yes, we did receive it. My dad was ill, and I had to move in to take care of him
And when did you move in?
before the pandemic. Hold on. Around 20, maybe 2018, 2017.
Okay. And did you receive a lead safe certificate at that time?
He received all of that. Yes,
Okay, okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Counsel for the landlord, you can cross the tenant or you can present your case.
Yeah, I think we're gonna just present our case.
Okay, you may proceed.
So, just a few opening comments. The complaint itself, from what I see, is really focusing on just the issue of retaliation. And in fact, when I look at the complaint, I know there's been some questions about rental licenses and all that and habitability. And the complaint itself says, yes, we've received those. It says, the landlord, this is a number 6 of the complaint. The landlord does have an active rental license. The landlord provided me with a certificate of rental suitability. The landlord did provide me with a lead safe. So I just don't know why there's any issues with that. And I think that really everything should be focused on, was the notice of non-renewal sent for the purposes to retaliate against the landlord-tenant violation? And my client's going to testify, but just on the face of it, the notice of the LNI was dated December 18th. The notice to vacate was December 16th. So,
Okay, counsel. So now I believe for the sake of time, you can just go into the heart of that argument through testimony of your client.
okay,
And if you wish to make any last closing remarks, you can do that at that time.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Sounds good. All right, so I have Mrs. Johnson testify. What is your name and address, ma'am?
My name is Elizabeth Steibler Johnson, 101 Carpenter Lane, 2W, Philadelphia, PA 19119.
Okay, and you're the owner of the property, correct?
Correct.
Now, your husband was listed on the the complaint as his name is Edward Johnson, but he's no longer alive, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and he died in 2022?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, according to the complaint, it seems like they say his name is still on the deed, but is his name still on the deed?
No, he isn't.
Okay.
He's not on the deed anymore.
And the deed is just in your name?
That's correct.
Okay, and is your husband's name on the lease with the tenants?
No, it's not.
Okay. Do you also live in this building?
Yes, I do.
And how long have you had the building?
We had the building as a business since 1987, but we have lived in the building before that. So we have been living here about 45 years.
45 years. Okay. How many units in the building, not including yours?
7.
Okay. And just a little bit of background so Stephanie was in the unit before Beverly, is that correct?
That was correct. Mhm.
Okay. And Stephanie's dad lived there before Stephanie?
Yeah, that's correct.
Just a little bit of background. So when did Stephanie's father move in?
Stephanie's father moved in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, May of 2013
Okay.
until 2023, like we said. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And I believe Stephanie says she's been there for about 2 years. Is that pretty much right?
Yeah, well, right. I wasn't quite sure how long she was there. She wasn't on the lease. She took care of her father.
Okay. And this new lease with Stephanie and Beverly, that's what started January 2024. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay, so the lease, there was kind of a mix up or an incident with the lease because I had another management company.
Okay.
And they started with the lease but never completed it. And when I switched over to the new management company, Gardner, they made a new lease. That was my understanding.
Okay. So the lease with them, when does the lease end?
Well, the lease ends 1/30 January the 31st, 25. It ended according to the lease I have, starting February the 1st, and then 2024 ending January the 31st, 2025.
Okay. So the lease we're talking to, that was just for the that was attached as an exhibit to the complaint itself. So I think my understanding is the lease we're talking about is what the tenant submitted, and this is the one that says Gardner Realty is on there, and I don't think there's any. Yeah, that's the one, right? So and that is if we look to page 2 of that lease, you can flip that. That's where it says that it starts February 1st and January 31st, and where it says renewal term number 5, it says it will automatically renew, but it wasn't checked below. So basically, it says the lease in 5 on line 30. It says the lease will terminate on the any date unless extended in writing. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay, and the lease was not extended, is that correct?
It wasn't extended, no.
All right. Okay. The rent is $15.24 a month. You agree
That's
with that?
correct.
Okay. And as far as the security deposit, what is your understanding about it says in the lease, the $1,200 security deposit, and it says the $1,200 last month's rent. This is on line, I guess it's number 8 of the lease. It's the next page. And it says there $1,200 security deposit, $1,200 last month's rent.
Yeah, that was taken over from Stephanie's father's lease. He paid the security deposit and the last month's rent. So then Gardner took that over into the new lease as the security deposit and last month's rent for this new lease.
Okay, so your understanding is that the property manager is still holding the security deposit and the last month's rent. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding, but since the lease terminated on January the 31st, the last month's rent has to be paid back according to Pennsylvania law, and they are actually in the process to calculate that in the rent payment, I was told by Gardner.
Okay. Now, you don't deal with the day-to-day operations of it. You have a property manager, right? Who's Gardner?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm not managing the building.
Okay, and they've been the manager since when?
Since March of 2024.
Okay, so let's talk about the heating problem. Let's just get into it. So there was a heating problem at the end of November 2024, right?
Yes, that's correct.
As far as your knowledge, was it just for the unit or was the whole building?
No, it's the heating. It was for the whole building.
All right. And how were you made aware of the problem, and how and when were you notified of the problem?
The issue is I was out of the country for a period of time, so I was not in the house while this all occurred. So I was informed about issues with the house via text or email. The first text that I saw that there was a heating problem was 11/29/2024 from Val from Gardner.
Okay. And what was done as soon as you found out there was a heating problem?
Well, I mean, it was my understanding what they told me they had that.
And remember what they said before, don't use pronouns. So
Okay. Gardner had several plumbers come in. First, it was Bill Fresco. Bill Fresco came on several occasions, and evidently he wasn't able to fix it or didn't want to fix it anymore. So then they called other plumbers and technicians in. We had about 4 different plumbers come in to work on this issue, and we accumulated quite some costs for having this heater repaired.
do you remember how much approximately you paid Mr. Fresco, the plumber?
Fresco, we paid about $6,000. Altogether, for all the costs, we paid about $10,260 for having the heater repaired. So Gardner, Val, who contacted the technicians, I mean, she tried to get the technicians in to have this heater fixed. The problem was, it was heating season, and sometimes when she wanted to get a new technician in, then Val was told that, they couldn't make it in the next week or two. So that was a big issue. So we were stuck with Fresco, who eventually, couldn't fix the heater.
Okay. Just so we keep track, who finally was able to get to the source of the problem and fix the problem?
After 3 more summers, heating company that specializes in boilers, steam boilers, has been able to fix it. They came out, evaluated everything, and we are having now a service contract with them. So they come out
Okay.
monthly to take care of the heater.
Okay, so when would you say, as of when has the heating problem been fixed?
Well, I would say it has been fixed by the end of January the 30th. January the 31st, Summers came out,
End of January.
evaluated everything, and since then the heater is working.
Okay, all right. So now there was an L&I violation, and I like to put that up on the screen. That is the Exhibit A of my February 14th letter.
I'll put it up.
Thank you. Okay, so just a few things before my client continues to testify. You can see that the date of the notice clearly says December 18th, 2024, and that there's 3 issues that are part of the violation. One has to do with the heat. That's on the first page. And then when you flip to the second page, it basically is citing a damaged ceiling and defective washer. So they're basically 3 items that are code violations. All right. So, Ms. Johnson, when did you receive the notice that was dated December 18th?
Okay, I never received a notice from L&I in the mail or email up to date. I never have received this notice. I received a letter from Fair Housing. It was sent to my address. I received that on January the 30th when I came back. The first about this Fair Housing violation, or the email was sent by Val from Gardner on January the 7th via email, that there was an issue with Fair Housing, and then eventually saw that there was a violation from L&I. So I received the L&I violation on January the 13th, but Gardner pulled that up. They never received the letter from L&I either. So I haven't, I received that January the 13th.
Okay. So it sounds like the first you or the property manager knew about the violation was when you got the fair housing notice.
Yes.
That was January 7th. You ultimately got it the 13th or so. Okay. So now when you found out about the violation, what was done?
Well, there were the 3 issues that were listed. Gardner, Val, attended to them. She also contacted L&I because we had 30 days, and that was coming up because. So she contacted L&I to talk to them and to make them aware that we now receive them, but with delay, and that we are taking care of the issues.
Okay, now ultimately, the violations that were cited, they have all been cleared. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
I don't think there's any dispute among the parties that in fact the notice is now canceled. The case has been closed. I think there was my email. Yeah, and it says it's closed. So I don't think we have to go any farther than that. And I also sent a copy of a letter from L&I that I sent to the Fair Housing on, I believe it was February 19th, when I found out from Inspector Banks that in fact it is closed. All right. Now the termination notice of December 16th, which is my exhibit C in my February 14th letter. If we could put that up, I'd appreciate it. Okay. So that's the notice of termination of the lease effective January 31st, along, within the lease terms. Were you aware that this notice was going to be sent to the tenants?
Yeah, I was aware of that. Gardner did discuss this with me,
Okay,
and they made me aware that the apartment had a very high volume of work orders and complaints that came in, and some were really to the extent that we felt like we needed the apartment cleared and emptied to really engage, to attend to those complaints. And so yes, that was the case.
okay. Can you be a little more specific about what it was that needed to be done that would require some people not to be there so that you could get these things done?
Well, I think part of it was also when somebody from Gardner walked through, there it was really, the apartment seems quite overloaded with stuff, with furniture and all different kind of things. And they felt like it was very inconvenient to renovate an apartment with all this stuff in the apartment. So they felt like it would be easier to just have everything removed and then renovate the apartment that way.
Okay. Now, as far as you know, this notice of termination, was that sent before you or your agent received the L&I notice?
Yeah, that was before.
Okay. And was the December 16th notice of termination, was that retaliating against the tenants because they reported the L&I claim?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, I have no further questions, but I do want to make reference to something that is raised in my letter of February 14th, an email that was sent. I would like to refer to Exhibit D. That was part of my February 14th letter. Yeah. So I just want to point out in that email issues of, it seems like the motivation of why the tenants don't want to move out. And I refer to this in my letter. I just want to emphasize it. In this January 2nd email from Beverly Gunn to the landlord, she refers to, she has surgery. She says she's flat broke. She says she does not have money to move. I have no place to go. I love my apartment. I love my neighborhood. I'm happy here. I mean, that's understood, but for those reasons, that doesn't justify that the landlord has to continue the leasing to this person because they have a lease and it ends the end of December and it was not renewed.
Okay, counsel, thank you. We understand.
All right. Okay. So I have nothing further to say on this case. Our position is that this allegation and this
You'll have an
complaint should be
opportunity to
dismissed.
close before. Attorney for the tenant, do you have any cross?
No, I'll leave it be. Thank you.
Okay, so then now, commissioners, any questions of the parties?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, so then this will give both parties an opportunity to provide with a very brief and concise summary or any other statements that they wish for the commission to consider while we deliberate. So you may go first.
Okay.
Hi, can
Landlord
parties
first?
hear me?
No, you're hard to hear, Commissioner Bias. I believe tenant first? Generally?
Okay, yes, tenant first.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I think we got sent to a breakout room early.
Oh, if you want to close, Mr. Weintraub.
Thank you. Very, very briefly. I just want to very briefly indicate the reasons that my client was briefly testifying about the pattern of repairs, which the landlord also noted that they had received many repair tickets for my client. The reason that's relevant is because when my client called L&I on December 10th, They came out on December 12th, and then again on the 14th, as the document indicates, with the violations eventually being noted on the 16th and sent later. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was clear to Gardner, the management company for Miss Johnson, that this was just one thing too many, and they were done with my clients, and that was the reason the notice of renewal not got sent that day. Miss Johnson herself cannot testify the exact back and forth between what happened between Gardner and my clients because she's not personally aware of it. So I just want to make it very clear that the L&I violations, when my client called L&I about the heat on December 10th, this was the straw that broke the camel's back, why they chose not to renew the lease on December 16th. Thank you.
Okay, landlord's attorney.
Okay, again, I think it really, the focus should be on, was it done for the purpose of retaliation? The law is very clear on what it says, that it's unlawful for them to do it in retaliation for a violation having been found against the premises. Again, as stated before, they didn't know about that. They didn't have the notice. They didn't know that there was any allegation until, at least this December 18th was even the notice from L&I, let alone that my client said she didn't get it until January. And that there just is not a case here for that it was done in retaliation. There's a lot of reasons why landlords end leases, and it's clearly what the lease says. It's end of the term, and it's certainly legitimate for a landlord to say, well, there are reasons why we need to have people out because we need to renovate our property.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're gonna be you may see a sign asking you to go into a breakout room. Please click join.
Before we do that, can I just get a understanding from the landlord what the outstanding rent is?
I don't know. I don't know. I know that Miss Gunn was withholding rent, and I'm not collecting rents. I get the statements, and I do not collect the rents. I don't know what did go in up to this point. You have, the gardener would have that information.
Okay, thank you.
Let's ask everyone to join a breakout room at this point. So there should be an option to go in a separate room. The commissioners are going to convene. Okay, Commissioner Baez, everyone can hear.
Okay, thank you. We're back in session. At this time, I would like to make the statement that this commission will be taking this matter under advisement. We need another piece of information from the landlord. We need the landlord to provide us with records indicating exactly, we need a ledger from the landlord so that we can understand exactly what needs to be paid by the tenant and what is being held by the landlord regarding security. So if we can just have a ledger mailed to our staff, that would be appreciated. Once we receive that, the commission will communicate a final order.
Email is fine.
Sorry, Counselor, you're on mute if you're trying to speak.
Just to get clear. So it's a ledger of security deposit and last month's rent, or just security deposit?
Well, whatever the tenant owes the landlord, any
Okay.
credits that have been given to the tenants, and then also what is being held by the landlord as far as last month's rent and security deposit.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, we'll work on that.
Thank you,
you.
everybody. If there are no further questions, the hearing's concluded.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.